Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Scale Gap podcast. As usual, I'm joined by Persian. How's it going, dude?
What up, man? I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I wanted to say the game is not making me feel the greatest, but yeah, I'm actually like IRL. I'm good.
That's good. That's all that matters. Guys, if you're listening to this, well, that's the only way you are because you're not on Twitch. This is the first ever Scale Gap podcast that we're recording off air. The reason is that I'm kind of all over the place, but I really want to record podcast, and this allows me to kind of bang one out without having to schedule Persian, also with a reasonable time to stream. So, like, this allows us to do more on the go. Maybe we'll have like episodes that are like 20 minutes long because one day we're in the PS party, we're like, we need to talk about this, bang one out real quick, bang shika bing bada boom, and then boom. So that's really the reason why this
It's
is happening
mostly
this way.
it's not just you. Our schedules don't align all the time, so it's hard to find a good time slot for you to and stream and to do a podcast. So
Yeah.
that's why. Like,
100%. It doesn't, like, there's gonna be more streams where the pod, like, this doesn't mean it's exclusively offline and on stream. It's just, it is what it is. When it happens, it
we'll
happens.
just we'll just be able to pump them out more frequently this way. That's just more the
Exactly,
idea.
exactly. Expect longer ones, shorter ones, 20 minutes, 1 hour, who knows. Anyways, the reason we wanted to do one today is also because it's been a while. We were supposed to do one previously. There's been 2 patches since we've done one. The previous patch we're just going to ignore because essentially we don't believe in the conspiracy theorists of the patch slowing the game down too much. Maybe Persian does now. I don't know. But
I don't believe that's the thing. I don't believe in conspiracy theories, but there's definitely I get where it comes from because like obviously you play the game too, and every time we play the game on patch day, the gameplay is so slow that I get that people try and bring that towards the patch, but reasonably you realize that like there's always days where gameplay is absolute well trash and there's days where it's like semi decent. So I think because everyone's trying to try out the patch, like the server load is like too much, I guess, like which makes the gameplay slow. So I don't think that it slows the game down or it does like secret things that makes the game worse. It's just the game's just ass. Like that's what it comes down to.
yeah, I mean, I've turned a bit into a little bit of an asshole in recent times in the sense that like I used to be more understanding, but now I troll you if you start going on about speed and stuff because like it's 2020, dude. It's almost 2021. We had so many patches. They've done patches on everything, and every time no one says anything about what was patched, and everyone just says, "Damn, they made the game slower." I'm like, "Come
Yeah.
on, man!" Like,
I
it's
mean, I
just
guess
not
that's true, but
it.
like it's like some sort of mind fuck, you know? Like people try to find some reasoning to as to why this game is bad, and it's the same thing with like the whole honeymoon stage where they start thinking the game's good and they try to like as the game goes they try to like justify why is the game turning so bad and why am I not having fun anymore, and they relate that to patches. They go like, okay, this patch just ruined the game. Same with the whole FIFA 18 thing, remember, like everyone,
Yeah,
it goes back all the way to then. That's when it started, when people had like all sorts of theories is that that game was so good and the patch ruined it. Like it's just the echo chamber of people saying the same thing over and over again with not
yeah.
really any facts to stand by, basically.
I don't blame anyone, by the way. If you're out there and you're like, oh, the patch made the game slower, I don't blame you. It really just depends on
Mm-hmm.
who you are because there was a time when I remember one time I was getting a grips with a FIFA. I don't know, it was FIFA 19 or 20, and then a patch came out and all of a sudden I had a really bad day and I was like, damn it, they ruined it for me and I was angry. But over time I was like, nah, man, the game changes every day, let alone every hour. Like, it just all the time. So like there's good gameplay. I mean, we played yesterday, the patch was released, and I had played co-op like 6 hours earlier and the game was flying with my friend. I hop on, play with you, the game's completely different, and so you could have thought the game got slower. But like whereas I had both types of gameplay in the same day, I was like, yeah, this is just
Yeah.
FIFA being FIFA. So it's like, so at a certain point, if you're like an old school dude, I have to question your IQ a little bit if you're still talking about speed of the game when it's like the patch, which is why we should talk about real quick. What did actually the patch notes say? They didn't say anything about speed of the game. Essentially, in a nutshell, they nerfed AI blocks, just AI blocks. They nerfed or they buffed certain interceptions, and they also supposedly impacted the effectiveness of the step over. Now, you've played with me last night. I don't know if you played any more after that. Did you feel anything in any of those three regards?
I mean, not really. The step overs, like I didn't even notice that big of a difference. Probably what other people were telling me, the exit is like the exit out of the step over. There's not as much of a sprint boost, but the sprint boost wasn't really the only problem. Like you when you do a step over, you create like some sort of force field around you. So the step over is still like pretty OP basically. And the other things, I honestly barely noticed anything. How many games did we play? We only played like 5 games, so it's not really fair. And it wasn't like me playing on my own; it was co-op, so it's a different
Yeah.
experience in its on its own. But honestly, I didn't really. So you're saying they nerfed interceptions?
Buffed. Like basically they showed the example. I read the patch notes and everything. They basically have the example uh pre-patch and post-patch of certain interceptions, and you're not going to feel anything. Basically the only scenarios where it counts is, this has happened to me quite a bit. Like I could not be cutting the passing lane anymore, and the ball still goes through my legs, right? It's like they
Yeah,
do an auto lunge, even so they
yeah.
just fixed that. So it's not that you can intercept even better. It's
The
just
passes
that
are still
specific.
curling around you basically, so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
matter
yeah,
because that's what
yeah.
we were noticing. Like when you stand in a passing lane, the pass still gets corrected towards
100%.
some magical direction, and apparently the opponent's AI knows everything, so it'll
Yeah,
be
no, it's
fine.
just for the, it's kind of like in Pez. Pez has this a lot where you cut the passing lane perfectly, but it still goes through your legs just because your player, I don't even know, he goes dirt mode. They fix that where that should happen even less, which is good, but that wasn't even happening to me too much. It's just, yeah, the assistance, which is untouched. Same with the blocks. I haven't felt much of a difference yet, but I think Weekend League is going to be the main decider. For the step overs, I felt nothing because I don't use them, dude. So I don't know. I need to be playing a bit, some sweats to really know the difference.
it's 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 pretty much still the main way to turn into, because you can barely turn in this game, or like in general, unless maybe Neymar or the top tier players, but other than that, it's still the main way to change your direction in this game. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like they're pretty much, they fill in the gaps. Things like ball rolls and step overs.
Yep.
If you're listening, you don't spam them. Obviously, I don't either. I actually know I do spam ball rolls quite. Like you just have to like turn quickly or right before a pass or something. But they fill in the gaps and they're necessary, and you're gonna always see them between the rats. And like you said earlier, the problem with step over, the speed, the force field, and then just the direction, man. Anyone who's played any sort of football, be it in the recess ground or competitively, like you cannot do step overs the way you do in FIFA. They're just so broken. They defy the laws of physics, and they really make my ligaments hurt. And I'm just by watching it, my knees just I'm like, just try that, man. Try it.
Nah, I think the main issue is like for people that want to play this game at a high level, you almost have to do them because the turning is so bad in this game. The player agility is so bad in this game that you have to find a way to be able to suddenly change direction, basically. So that's why people spam them so much. And obviously, the way like the Anders Verge gang or whatever use them is absolutely broken because they literally spam them all around the pitch. But it's a way to basically traverse faster throughout the field, and I think that's why they use it. And it just shows how inherently broken like the simple things like dribbling and turning and just moving like smoothly throughout the field are in this game, because it just feels clunky. Like this game feels so much more clunky compared to the previous ones, and obviously the previous ones weren't great either, but
Very
that just
clunky
shows how
games.
bad that just shows how bad this is. Like,
Yeah. For context sake, Anders Vergegang is this 14-year-old wonder kid who's too young to be eligible to compete, but nonetheless, he is undefeated in weekend league so far in FIFA 21. He's literally 210 and 0. There's only two people in the world who are at that stage, but obviously him being the younger wonder kid is getting the majority of the hype for it.
he's
Yeah,
also
the
beating a
guys.
lot of pro players in like their custom tournaments and stuff like that. So he's pretty a hyped up player right now. So a lot of people are like trying to watch him, and He does the broken things to a T. Basically, he does that really well.
Yeah, he's insane. Um, One thing I wanted to actually ask you is, do you think that a lot of people have turned around, obviously, with FIFA, especially if you read the timeline? Is this the fastest you've seen the honeymoon stage end in FIFA?
Yeah, probably. I think FIFA 20 was pretty quick as well, to be fair. Like it happened pretty fast in FIFA 20, but I think this FIFA is the fastest people have been like actually demotivated to play as well, because I see a lot of players that were actual grinders that just don't want to play the game anymore. They'll just play their weekend league or whatever, but other than that, they won't touch the game. And I think there's a consensus that I think as FIFA goes, I think it's partially because FIFA 20 was already so draining, so it just like basically gets worse and worse, that people just get tired of it and they don't want to do it anymore. And I've been in this stage since like what 1918, so for me it's pretty much the same feeling. But I don't know, man, they can't keep releasing games like this. It really hurts them, like gameplay wise anyway, because people still spend a lot of money in this game obviously, so they have no issues. But I don't know. It probably is the fastest, but it's not by a huge margin because 20 was pretty quick as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm in the minority. I in the school of thought that for me, FIFA 21 is a more bearable and a better game than FIFA 20. I know you disagree with that, and
Mm-hmm.
that might be something juicy because we usually just kind of like not hype
Agree on
each other up on the podcast. We're like, yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah, 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 let's go, let's go.
No, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
But I'm still, I think, and I'm wondering, like, because I just saw a tweet from Ethan. Ethan is friend of ours, pro player, top 10, 15, I don't even know, in the world last year on FIFA, the World Cup. Cracked out of his mind, snorting G Fuel all day, and he's having some meltdowns on the timeline recently. Like I can smell the feeling of being burnt out in his messages, and I
Yeah.
can relate to it because I've had that before. And I think.
Note that
What do you
though.
think
Let
that's
me
for, though?
let me let me interject though, because note that those tweets always come after a loss, or
For
ninety nine
sure.
percent of the time. So he doesn't just randomly tweet these things like
Of course,
because
of course.
he feels them. He's fuming because he lost the game, and he's like trying to understand why he lost. Because to be fair to him, he tries to critique himself the most, and he tries to look at his gameplay and what did I do wrong? How could I fix this? And he realizes there's a lot of things in this game which was the same in the past, to be honest, but he was just probably just better at that game. But there's a lot of things in this game that you can't really fix. Like you can't do anything yourself to basically hinder the goals that you concede. So he's having a meltdown because of that. And yeah, we've been like that since FIFA 20, because there were a lot of things in FIFA 20 you couldn't defend either, but he had less
Yeah,
trouble with that.
for pros, I feel bad, man, because like a lot of people don't understand that you have people of a certain level, but really it's not like in football, for example. Every time I've seen Roma sort of become absolutely cracked out of their minds, it didn't randomly happen. It was like, you know a cycle ends, you buy 4 or 5 players, your ass, your ass, your ass, you get a good coach, 3 more players, all of a sudden those ass players are god tier because you have this nucleus that kind of like
Yeah,
gel together. It's not like that in FIFA to a
it just
certain
clicks.
extent.
Yeah.
It is like you get a certain skill set, but at a certain day a new game comes out and boom, what really made the difference is that it's a new game, new skill set, blah blah blah. So like Ethan went from top 10 in the world to, I don't know, top 50.
Struggling now. Yeah,
Top
struggling.
50 in the world, which is a big jump, even if it doesn't sound like it. And so, you know, at that level, it's like you couldn't defend things last year, but then he could, and then this year you have other kids who can defend it, and it's just like,
You explained it recently, comparing FIFA 17 to 18, right? That you played a certain player and
yeah,
you were literally slapping them in 17, and then all of a sudden you play in 18, and it's
I
it's
couldn't
like an
get near him.
entirely different. Yeah, it's like that's literally the game. Like you just play an entirely different version of the game, which is what makes it so hard to understand, because like FIFA from year to year changes so drastically that it shouldn't be like that because the fundamentals should always be the same. It's a football game, right? Like football doesn't necessarily just change entirely from year to year. So why does the game? You know? So like
Yeah.
they have no set base where they go off and change like little things around it. That's fine, but like they change the fundamentals of the game year by year, and that's what makes it so hard to understand. And obviously there's players that are mostly consistent most of the time, but they're just really good at mastering the broken things more than the fundamentals. So they just look for the most broken things and they just use those. And the broken things are the fundamentals nowadays instead of
Yeah.
actually like playing just normal passing game, dribbling, like vision. Like those things aren't as important anymore. It's just mostly, I mean, spam the through ball, learn this broken skill move or whatever.
100%. It's such a undervalued or underestimated thing when it used to. There's always been broken stuff, but it would always complement the
Yeah.
fundamentals. Like if you couldn't intercept a passing lane switch fast enough and like trap people, there's nothing you can do with a step over. Those were just the cherries, but now the cherries are the
The
pie, the cake. It's crazy.
the best example we could give, and we always go back to FIFA 17. I'm sick of it, sick of doing that. But in FIFA 17, I could literally win games simply by passing, dribbling, having vision, and shooting. I didn't need to use one skill move in that game.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of broken things. People were crab walking, people were shielding, like that was all broken. But I could literally win every game just by passing, shooting, and just dribbling, just normally. I didn't have to use anything. I could just literally use my vision and passing to basically outplay someone. But that's really hard to do nowadays. Like you have to spam ball rolls, you have to do this, you have to do that. Like there's no normal way to play this game anymore.
It's the beauty of playing at a high level using the most basic of commands, which reminds me of a tweet you made recently, which was what you need to be good nowadays, and they just show the D-pad. Like the D-pad used to be so irrelevant, like you had people in the back of the day who was like, oh wait, you can go arrow out or down and do an offside trap or team press. I didn't even know. But now, like your tweet said, if you know the D-pad, arrow down, right arrow right, I don't even know, just activate team press with the D-pad,
Yep.
you're a
not just
different
not
type
just
of breed.
not just not just team press, like over the ball side, they're still in the
Yeah,
game. People are still using them. It's still very overpowered. And striker drop back, name it. Like all those things, offside trap, all those things are very OP. And
very.
that's the thing. Like it just turns an average player to someone that will make you struggle because team press is a extremely overpowered mechanic. Like it literally just makes it hard for you to get out of your own half.
For
It's
sure.
I saw someone tweet this recently. It said it's better to not have the ball, let someone build up, literally pass the ball to them, let them build up and turn on team press. You're more likely to score that way than you building up and passing around his box and trying to score.
Yes.
So it's better to not have the ball in this game than to actually have it.
That's true. And that's a good segue because we don't want to make it sound like FIFA's a game that should reward the guy with 70% possession for the sake of it when he's going up and down the box, right? Because it should be a game where it should reward the better player, and the better player can be a counterattacking player or a possession player, but the game needs to give you the tools to counteract everything. And right now, possession, because of the press situation, is OP because press situation's irrelevant. Now, obviously, you have things like team press, but if you're like me, you literally only use that stuff like if you're last resort, 75th minute onwards, maybe 85th minute onwards, that's it. Like, but in the first 80 minutes, you're playing completely balanced and you're pressing completely manually without second man press and with the passing assistance as it is. So the press situation as a whole for me is something we've talked about, but wanted to rehash it up because I've seen some tweets from pros. They're like, you know what? They patched step overs and this and that, and they did patch the stamina. That's what they patched last time, actually. They nerfed the stamina on some defensive
They keep
mentality. So
going down 10 seconds.
what?
They keep going down 10 seconds. Like
Oh yeah,
you can use it for less than 10 seconds, or
yeah,
for
yeah.
from 30 to 20, from 20 to 10, or whatever it was. Like it matters. Like you need more
Yeah.
than 2 seconds to actually team press someone.
the time of it is irrelevant. It's the concept as a whole. And this guy was like, okay, but we need to keep team press because there's no counterbalance to it. And it just saddens me because he's not like wrong, but he's also, I just wish he would have added the nuance that we need to keep team press because EA won't add second man press because they're like they just don't want to do it. But in a perfect world, they need to remove team press absolutely and add second man press, and that is like the only solution.
I'd rather not have any of the D-pad functions, not have team press, not have anything. Even though the game would be more boring, at least I don't feel like I'm losing to the AI. Like
Yeah,
I'm in that boat. Like I don't want to lose to someone that literally just spam me with team press and thinks that's skill. Like I agree that the other isn't necessarily skill either, but at least he pressed the buttons. He at least helped me, like he passed the ball around or whatever, and I still have the options to player switch fast enough and manually press basically. So
yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I hate team press so much. I think it's such a broken mechanic, and this is the thing we were talking about recently. I don't understand how team press can be in the game and they only look at the positives for team press, but they don't when they talk about second man press, they only look at the negatives. Like there's
Yeah.
no midway. They only look at the negatives. Every time team second man press is talked about, they always talk about the defensive stance and how people will not defend for themselves anymore. But like what are we talking about? Team press is all AI. It's literally all AI. You're not doing anything. You're just literally flipping a switch and the AI is doing it for you. So how is that better? I just don't get that whole idea. Like
It's it's crazy to me, man. It's the mad mark. Obviously, if you're listening, you don't know what it is. I don't know how you haven't realized, but sometimes team press is activated and your opponent's team is man marking every single man in your team, and it never used to be like this. You could like with second man press, someone who was good could put more or less the same amount of pressure, but it was like in waves, right? There was the first wave. If you get out of that wave, it's gonna take a split second or two before you can create another trap, and it's fair enough because like
and it was mostly the ball holder, by the way. Now everyone's marked.
yeah, right, dude. That's the whole thing. Like you had to with second man press. You know, you have the first wave. You know, say he's in his box. You press with three guys. If he square passes it into a striker and manages to do that, fair enough. He's done that, right? And then you reset the press. You can't even square pass out of your defense when team press is
Yep.
activated because you square pass to the striker and the center back is licking his earlobes, dude. He's right on him. It's crazy, man. Even
I think
Ronaldo can hardly survive.
I think the most important thing is when you pass into someone, right? Say I want to say someone's flipped on team press and I want to pass into like a player that's near me and he's open. The problem is the guy that you're passing to stays stationary. He stays and waits for the ball, and the other guy flies at the ball. Like the guy that has on team press, his players will literally fly at the ball and they'll just run past you. So even if the pass is open, you won't be able to get there because the other guy just flies towards the ball and intercepts it.
Yeah.
So the problem isn't necessarily just team press. Your team is too stationary at that point because they don't basically do anything.
Dude, they become cowards. You know how many times I've had a wide open pass, even in team press. I'm like, wow, he's team pressing me, and I still have this wide open pass. I do the pass, and they tap the ball, and it goes
Yep.
at 1 mile an hour, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh
Yep.
shit, we're back to
Yep.
square. Yeah, I'm like, how? Like, if team press is not activated, that pass is flying to whoever I'm passing to. It's crazy. You know, the EA might never admit or deny, or they might deny the fact that things like team press affect your team as well. But dude, it's blatant, man. It's blatant. The way passes work, even wide open ones, it all of a sudden it changes everything. And I think it's funny when you know there's people who genuinely think that you can get out of a team press. Like, come on, man. It's it's just not it. And it reminds me of like so many pros right now switching to co-op camera angle. Now, obviously, co-op has as a camera angle, it's the furthest one away. You're basically on a blimp. It has its pros and cons, very good pros, but I think there's something wrong when you have to play that. Like when people tell me play co-op, you get out of team press easy. I'm like, no, we have an issue, bro. If I have to be
Yep.
playing co-op to get out of team press,
Even
you
in
should be
co-op,
able.
it's really strong. Like we have to focus every time someone slaps on team press when we play co-op. Like we have to literally think about every pass there. It's not that easy, man.
Yeah, it's crazy, but Moving on, one reason I have kind of enjoyed FIFA is because not enjoyed FIFA. Wow, that's a big word. One reason why I feel like I'm not as triggered this year as I am last year is also because of when I stream, I'm forced to like change up the content. I can't be always only playing weekend league, and so midweek I'm out there playing friendlies for objectives, and this year they're a lot more chill than last year. Um, but here's the thing, even there, they kind of did some weird stuff. This is what we were supposed to talk about as last time as well. They added caps. We already know about the caps in rivals, but they added a cap in friendlies. So there was a friendly a couple of weeks ago where you could have gotten some sort of pack, prime electron player, I don't even know, but you had to win 6 games and you only had 12 games available. Now a lot of people got upset at this. Some people said it's fair. Some people said it didn't. Some people said, why are people complaining? We used to have the DKT. But the thing they don't realize is that the daily knockout tournament, a tournament you used to be able to participate in back in the day, and then the winner would get like a team of the season card or something. You had unlimited entries. You're giving us a worse pack with a game cap. So you will have 12 games to play and you have to win 6. So it is kind of like DKT, but it really isn't, because DKT is unlimited entries. You lose in the quarterfinals, you start again from the last 6
DKT is
games.
also a tournament setting. This isn't a
Exactly.
tournament. You're playing single games. Like, it has nothing to do with a tournament setting. So trying to compare those two is just ridiculous in my opinion. This is just a cheap way to stop people from getting packs, which makes no sense because most of the packs are terrible anyway. So I don't know why they're always so greedy. Like, it doesn't matter, man. You're making more money every year. Like, why are you cheaping out on these things? Like, it kills me that like they feel like they reward people too much. Like, it's not that deep, man. People are spending their time on the game. They're spending a lot of time trying to get these packs. Like, why do you have to punish people for that? I don't understand. Like,
What I don't get is that sometimes you get this vibe that EA gives the rewards that they do, and they've done things like give whatever, whether it's the thing we just mentioned, or maybe it's SBCs with untradeable packs, or SBCs with really bad untradeable packs. So you complete an SBC and you get back a pack that you can't even make profit of, and they've changed that slowly over the years, and it feels like they do that. Obviously, the main reasons are obvious, but like if you want to even play devil's advocate, someone I feel would say, and I've seen this before, oh, they have to do that, otherwise the repercussions to the market would be huge. And I'm sitting there like, really? Like, dude, you know how many 100k packs and ultimate packs both you and I have opened via season passes, untradeable by the way, and I've
yeah,
never packed anything from this? Like, what are we
same.
talking? Like, you can't give me a 125k pack because I'm gonna pack Mandanda? Like, what? Like, what's the
It's not
problem?
just that. I'm gonna tell you, both between the two of us, we've both opened like pretty much every season pass over these last 2 years, right? Like, since
Yeah,
season passes have been introduced, we've not packed anything ever.
nothing.
There's literally nothing been in the team that like something that would go straight into the team. Nothing. So I don't know why they're so greedy with these things. Like, obviously you can get some fodder for your SBC or whatever you can think of, but like, it's just ridiculous, man. I don't I we're not even in the category of people that would struggle with these objectives, or we're not in the category of people that would like not or what's the right wording here?
Not be penalized, or like, what are you
Yeah,
saying?
be penalized by it basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel bad for the people that do. Like, if you're not that good at FIFA, like, why would they punish you and why would they make you unable to get that pack even though that pack is so bad? Like, you reward people for playing your game, man. Like, come on.
Yeah,
If it's
like
a
I would
tournament
have
settings, give people unlimited tries in the tournament and let them play the game. Like, it's not that deep. If you
I
win
would have
4 in a row, you
gone
deserve to win.
I would have gone 6-0 in that, right? Probably.
Yeah.
There's no way I
Yeah.
don't win 6 games out of 12 in the friendly game, but I still didn't play because I was like, this sucks. But
That's the thing. The packs are so terrible that we're sitting there like, this is not worth my time. I'm not. And they also have like the whole skill rating thing that you play people on your skill level. It's like, it's all sweaty. Everything has to be sweaty, man. Everything has to be skill based
what about
matchmaking.
okay, okay, so what about two things, right? I don't agree with these, but these are what I hear in return. Okay, in terms of the sweatiness. I've
Yeah.
seen this argument thrown out a lot. people say, okay, but you want open matchmaking, but you're not thinking about the guy on the other end who's going to get slapped up because in open matchmaking, he's a Div 10 player. He matches a Div 1
No,
player,
no,
loses 10-0.
I'm fine with that. I'm saying open matchmaking to an extent, obviously. Someone in Div 10 shouldn't play someone in Div 1. I'm just saying, let me match a good player once. Let me match a little bit less of a player once. Like, give me some sort of leeway to basically open the matchmaking a bit more. Obviously, not to the extent that you're just going to slap someone 12-0, because that makes no sense. And it's very unfair. But I'm just saying it should be a bit more casual, since it's a friendly mode. By the way, it's not competitive mode, it's friendly mode. So in other words, the same way in the DKT you could match someone in round 2, like that was maybe not that great of a player, just mix it up. Like, it's not a catastrophe to lose in that game mode. So like, what are we talking about?
That's the
I
thing
just
about
need it.
Yeah, go.
It's not like when you play. Let me put it this way: people want participation trophies now. Then it's not like you're not supposed to play a better player. And if you look at the statistics, most people are on an average level in general. So we're like top 1% in that sense. So the odds of them matching a caliber player or a player of our caliber are slim to none anyway. You're gonna
Yeah.
match people on your own skill level most of the time. So what are you worried about? Like, it just makes no sense. Like, every 1 in 10 games, you're gonna match a bit better player than you. And it's not like in FIFA, when you're playing a better player, you've lost, like, per definition, you know? Like, it's not a
Yeah,
game like that. They can still beat you. Like,
for
I
sure.
just think this game is way too, like, oriented on playing the same skill players. Like, there's no relaxation in this game.
None.
And it just annoys me.
That's what you said there is huge as well, because you mentioned that's another main difference between DKT and friendly. So DKT was skill based matchmaking only based on rounds, so it's like round
Yeah.
based matchmaking. It's open matchmaking, and yeah, you could play as the same guy, but like you could technically play a Div 10 player in the final if he matched
Yeah,
4 Div play
absolutely.
10 play. So, but then in friendlies, it's way harder than that, because every game it's not round based, right? It's not like the draft. Even the draft is drafts are easier than friendlies. Let's just put it that way, because draft is
100%.
open matchmaking, but it's just based on the round. So I really don't understand that skill based matchmaking. But the other argument that I also see is, okay, so look, back to the limit, right? They put a 12 game limits, and you have to win 6 out of 12 to win the best pack, and if not, you get what you get. What do you think about the argument that says they put that so they make sure that someone who's absolutely, just struggling so hard doesn't burn out and use up like 150 tries to get 6
Nonsense,
wins?
man. It's nonsense. It's like, oh, we're trying to protect you. Yeah, sure, bud. That's why you have all these sweaty game modes, which makes everyone burn out. That's why you have 30 games of grueling foot champs, like rivals, everyone's sweating out. Everything in this game is made to make you rage, basically, and made to literally give your blood, sweat, and tears. And in the friendly mode, we're trying to not make you burn out. Come on, man. Like, that's such a cop out and terrible excuse. Like, kills me. Like, EA
I,
trying to look out for you, man. Like, yeah, sure, bud, sure. The company that makes the most profit off microtransactions and doing all these like psychologically iffy things, like, and they're trying to look out for you. Sure, sure.
that was what I really wanted. I really wanted to ask, because I always laughed at the burnout limit. Like I feel like at a certain point, like it's not the if you take 150 attempts to win 6 wins and you actually go through with it, I think that's also like kind of a you issue. Like, let it go, dude. You know, just
The
move on.
reason why I say these are excuses and like how EA does that, do you remember, like, I think it was a week or two ago when they talked about like having like blocking like microtransactions on your account, and you
Yes,
can
yes,
give
yes.
yourself a limit, which makes no sense because the block or the limit, you can literally go in your menus and change that. Like,
You
it's
can ignore
pointless.
it.
It's
It
yeah,
says ignore.
it feels like it's a mechanic to basically try to bail themselves out if there's a lawsuit or something. Like, it feels like that's why they put it in, not because they actually care. Like, they don't care about your bank account. They would literally plunder your bank account if they could. Like, they probably do most of the time. Like, I know kids, I literally know kids that like took their dad's credit card, like actually know them, and they took their dad's credit card and they took like 4,000 euros off that and spent that on FIFA points. These are actually real
Jesus.
things. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So that happens, man. It happens, and they don't really care. They just make their money and they go about their day.
Yeah. It's tough. I feel like the cherry on top of that was really just the ignore the limit thing. Cause like, come on, man. Someone who actually struggles with it and they see the limiter, like you exceeded the amount of packs you can buy, but you can ignore it if you want. Don't what? What's the point, dude? Is this a thing here or not? But it is what it is. Anyways, another thing I want to talk about is that on Twitter, God bless Twitter. I love if you don't follow us on
Everything's
Twitter,
on
by the
Twitter.
way,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
that's where everything goes down, baby. I shared a clip, and like every clip, I post it. I'm like, man, this is great proof. No way anyone disagrees, and of course, people disagree eventually. But it's just the magical world we live in. It's always the minority, by the way, so we're good. But basically, it was just I had the ball on the edge of the box. My winger made a cutting run from the throwing line towards the goal line diagonally, and the stage was set for me to throw ball the ball, and he was alone in front of net. That didn't happen because when I did that pass, my opponent's AI intercepted it. I have no issues with AI players intercepting passes if they are in the passing lane. I'm all for that. That's great. That's phenomenal. The problem with that is that the AI wasn't in the passing lane. In fact, he did such a good movement that if we were playing a game where you couldn't see your opponent's indicator, I would have thought that my opponent was selecting him. Press the jockey button to like make him give the animation of lowering his center of gravity, and did a semicircle movement to cut that passing lane. That's how good that interception was. And what really bothers me about that sequence is the people that were playing devil's advocates used the swings and roundabouts argument against me, saying that I'm complaining about the AI helping my opponent intercept a pass without realizing that the AI helped me by making a run for me. And oh man, it's
The
truly
best way,
wild.
though, I think the best way you can explain for people that didn't see the clip, the CDM of the opponent took over the right back position. Like he literally, like the intelligence on that the fact that the right back was gone and he switched to the position of the right back, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
He just literally went into that position because he saw there's a run being made, which is crazy. It doesn't even happen that much because CDMs are useless in this game. So I'm even mind blown that happened. But the fact that it did happen, like it just shows like how AI oriented this game is. Like,
And it's even if he was standing there, it wouldn't have been enough if he just stood. If he didn't do that
yeah,
weird
yeah,
jockey movement,
yeah,
I get
yeah,
through. But he
yeah.
did even that. And so let's talk about this swings and roundabouts thing, because this is mind blowing. I cannot believe it's 2020. It's almost 2021, and people still think that an AI interception is the same as an AI run. Guys, I don't know how to tell you this, in what language I need to explain this, but if you have a game where offensive AI is insane and they're making runs not into center backs but into gaps, yes, the AI is doing it for you in the sense they're making the runs. But the amount of skill gap that creates, both in terms of vision of you to pick out that pass, right? And also dribbling, right? Because you have to dribble and create, because you could see the pass, but if you're facing your own goal, you're not feeding the pass. So you have to see the pass. You have to time your dribble in a way that you've got the angle right at the right time. And you got to play it at the right exact moment, right? All of that is happening. Defensively, you have to select the right defender while cutting a passing lane, right? So you need second man press for this, and track the run. So like it creates so much depth to it that it doesn't happen if we have a game where there's nothing happening offensively and you're expected to trigger everything. Because even if you can trigger everything, it's not the same. The runs are slow, they're linear, they're just terrible features. But people just they can't make the nuance, right? They just take everything at face value. It's like looking at the world in a one-dimensional
Yeah.
like islands, and you don't understand there's more to it. But every time that happens. And sometimes I think if people didn't say this, then EA would see the feedback. But then I remember, it doesn't matter. I can sleep well at night knowing that even if everyone or no one said the whole swings and roundabouts thing, I feel like we would be in this situation regardless. But how would you explain that any differently? The whole like
No, I agree with that. I agree with you. I agree with you completely. But we're always on the same page when it comes to things like this. And I don't know, man. It's like the whole problem is with Twitter and people responding to things is I feel like they don't even think things through. They just like respond from their like gut feeling or whatever. There's no reasoning to a lot of things people say. And kind of triggers me because obviously it's a platform where people just speak their mind, but like I don't know, man. When I see the things sometimes coming past my timeline, and I'm just looking, I just have to face palm a lot of the time.
but that's a good segue because Ethan also posted a clip yesterday. Basically, for context sake, if you didn't see this clip, it was essentially his opponent used a player lock feature. If you don't know what the player lock feature is, you press in both of your analog sticks, and then at that point, you can switch. You can leave the ball holder, right? You're not the ball holder anymore, and you can select anyone on the field, and the AI is literally dribbling for you. Now, some pros think that this was a great move. I do not know why it's in FIFA Ultimate Team or multiplayer because it's like basically playing the pro clubs by yourself or the journey or whatever. Be a pro mode when you're just one dude and like you're with 10 AI players and you can call for the ball. Like I just whatever. But this transcended everything because when Ethan's opponent used a player lock and selected someone in the box, the AI who was dribbling for this guy on the wing did a skill move for him. A skill move. And even then, there were people saying, to be fair, it's AI versus AI. I couldn't believe it.
This is the problem, man. Like when you have people like this, you can't be surprised that the game is in the state that it is. Like if you're like there's no excuse for defending them. There's no excuse. Like if you're in that boat, you're past the point of being saved, in my opinion. Like, those people can't be saved anymore. You don't see reason anymore, man. Like what am I seeing? Or they're just constantly playing devil's advocate and they're just enjoying that ride or whatever. Like I don't understand. Like a lot of the things I try to look at from a different perspective. Even if I don't agree with you, I could like see okay where you're coming from, right? But things like this just blow my mind. Like how could you think that's good? That's like a good thing or whatever. Like
in fairness
crazy.
to these people, when I see that, they really catch me like red hand. Like I'm there like I don't know what to tell you, dude. You're right. Yeah. Like it's so obvious that I'm like, how do I counteract? Like I
But
don't know where to
second man
start.
press though, don't put that in the game. Don't put second man press
No,
in the
no,
game.
no,
That's fine. The whole skill move thing done by the AI and the Burba or whatever it was, like that's fine, but don't put second man press in it.
Yeah.
Makes it too AI reliant, man. Don't do it.
Too
It's not good.
too overpowered, man. No, no,
Very,
no,
very
don't you dare.
much.
Don't you dare.
Nah, people let the AI defend for them, man. Don't do it. Don't do it for sure.
Well, that was pretty much most of anything I wanted to say. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I tried the PS5 version of FIFA.
Oh yeah.
I have never played a more gimmicky FIFA in my life. I don't know what they were smoking, which made them think that adaptive triggers. For anyone that doesn't know, basically you have a option in the PS5 version of FIFA where you can basically sort of they try to emulate that you feel what players feel on the pitch. So if you get tackled and you want to press R2 to be able to sprint, it blocks your buttons or it makes it so heavy to press. Like I was mind blown. Like imagine going into weekend league, sweating out your life and putting this shit on. Like it's literally only masochists would use this. People that love pain, like you love to make torture yourself. It was the weirdest sensation I've ever had in my life. This is a funny gimmicky feature for like a party game or a horror game, but you're not going to put this in a game that like has like semi-competitive elements because it's just going to give you a very bad time. I don't know what I was like. That was a very weird sensation.
I feel like they're just like making use of the technology, but like by this, I can't imagine.
It's a
how they've
joke though.
seen.
No one's gonna use like who's gonna use that? You're just literally giving yourself a disadvantage. I couldn't press the buttons. I had to like literally
No, I mean like for
struggle.
developers, like if they're making like a single player scary game or something, you can't sprint away from a monster or something because you're
Yeah,
scared.
that's
And then
fun. That's what I'm saying. It's a that gives you sort of feeling of immersion when it comes to
yeah.
like a horror game, and it makes sense there. But I mean, it's fine that they put it in, and you can turn it off, obviously, so it's not that big of a deal. But it just blows my mind. If anyone uses this in Weekend League, like willingly, like they're troopers, man. They love pain at that point. They just want to see themselves lose at that point.
I'm probably gonna have to for one video eventually, but
Just
other
for
than
as a
that-
joke, yeah, as a joke. But like, no one's seriously gonna do that, man.
I can't seem to understand what it feels like because I've seen your reaction. I've seen other people. People literally say, "Dude, this is a workout." Like, I feel like they built in. You know, when you go on, like, you see like
When I
hand
I'll,
stressors and stuff.
I'll give you an example. When I saw it on Twitter, I was like, well, if they just make the button more heavy, I'll just press it down more like harder. But it's so heavy that you don't expect it every time it happens. And it's so heavy that you actually have to struggle to press it down. It's so weird, man. It's a very weird sensation. It's funny to have it for one game, but like, Jesus, man.
Sure. I mean, I'd be surprised if they built the controllers well enough for that to be not impacted over time. Obviously, wear and tear is a thing, but like knowing
No, this is gonna destroy your controller if you do that with FIFA. It's gonna destroy it. Like you have to. There's so many things happening. Like my controller at that point, because I normally have vibrate off and it was on. There's so many things happening in my controller. It's like a living thing. Like I was like, how is it gonna survive just this game? Because there's so many things happening, man. It makes sounds and shit.
Have you seen that clip of I saw someone with a PS5 controller and their Discord audio is coming out of their PS5 controller? They were like, "How does this even happen?"
Yeah. It has an inbuilt mic and micro and like a speaker and stuff like it. There's too many things happening, man.
People have to use it as a stereo, dude. Like, what am I hearing?
Let me use my controller, man. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to use it, but obviously I couldn't get a PS5 today. Peppa sad.
For sure.
But all right, let's leave it at that. No questions today because obviously there's no one to ask. So
put it in the comments, YouTube comments or whatever. If you have questions for the next podcast, let us know and we'll try to go over them.
For sure. And be sure to leave a rating, whether you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or whatever other platform we're on. We're on a bunch of them. I've lost track. Please do so. It would be nice. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us both on Twitter. And peace out.